A trade delegation from the United States is expected to jet into the country next week to iron out sticky issues under the U.S.-Kenya Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership. Trade Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano says the team will meet with trade negotiators from Kenya as Washington and Nairobi seek to hammer a trade deal before the American elections in November. The Trade CS spoke to our reporter Carol Njenga on a number of issues, including the just concluded U.S. state visit by President William Ruto.
The States have enjoyed a cordial relationship that spans over 60 years. And this can be ratified by the recent visit by President William Ruto and the trade delegation led by the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Investment, Rebecca Miano. I'm now joined by Madam CS to talk to us about specific trade deals that were signed during the state visit and also about the investments.
Thank you very much. I must start by saying that the visit to the U.S., the state visit by His Excellency the President, was a resounding success. And we started the visit in Atlanta. He started by giving a lecture in the Carter Center. We know that the Carter Center is the Center for Democracy. They had a discussion about the shared values with the U.S., and democracy was at the center stage. There was an event with CNN also, some discussion, and Coca-Cola. And just somebody said that Atlanta is the land of the 3 C's. We have the Carter, we have the CNN, and we have the Coca-Cola that are big businesses. But I also want to say that we got very good business deals. Even when we went to Washington, D.C., after the formal celebrations and invitations at the White House lawn and the bilaterals with President Biden. And I remember one of the meetings that we had was a roundtable with the technology providers. So the specific deals that were signed, first was Coca-Cola, that signed an investment of $175 million. On the technology side, Microsoft announced an investment of $1 billion to partner with G47 of the United Arab Emirates and a Kenyan company to put up green data centers. And this will be the first of its kind in the world, where we shall use the green energy to set up green data centers. We also saw Google, who announced their investment in undersea cables, a cable that will run from Kenya via South Africa all the way to Australia. And that is very important for Kenya. We know when there is interruption in connectivity, businesses are affected, communication is affected, and that will be a significant addition. My ministry and the State Department for Commerce in the United States, we signed a partnership agreement. We want to partner and do business together and have a good business environment, have a robust relationship with the private sector. And we'll be looking at various sectors like manufacturing, agriculture, green industrialization. And that was one of the biggest wins for us, that kind of partnership. We had also other deals that were signed, even business to business. We saw Equity Bank signed something with CNN. We saw the energy sector signed with a company called Marathon. We saw Stanbic signed with another partner. And so there was quite a lot of deals that were signed. US is our second biggest partner after Uganda in terms of trade, but true that there is trade imbalance in favor of the US. And this state visit was partly enabled us to identify more markets for our products so that we can increase our exports to the US. We saw quite a lot of interest. For example, big companies like Walmart being interested in supplies from Kenya, be it nuts, fruits, the avocados. And this visit and the agreements and partnerships that we came up with will help us to just sort out the trade imbalance. I think the task that we have ahead is the implementation and execution of all the discussions. And I see exporting services will be one of the biggest balancer of the trade that will be there between US. It's going to increase a lot. The BPOs, business process outsourcing, is a big win. Our Silicon Savannah, that is the technology. And so we are not only looking at goods, we are also looking at services, which is a major contributor to trying to balance the trade. All these deals will contribute to the economic growth of the country. And you know, when the economy of the country grows, it is a win-win for everyone, including the mwananchi, because it will offer employments. We are working on the numbers to see what kind of employments that will be there. It will support the whole ecosystem of the MSMEs, the whole of the supply chain, and the advisors, the services. So you can see the whole value chain will benefit, and I believe this will be for the benefit of everyone in the country. This state visit, one of our key outcomes, or what we wanted to achieve, is jobs, 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 and jobs for our people. Looking at each and every deal that was discussed, there are significant number of employments that will come with it, be it Coca-Cola, be it Google, be Microsoft, be it all the other people, all the other businesses that were involved. What we are doing now, we are coming up with the metrics, we are coming up with work plans, we are coming up with follow-up actions so that we can actualize. And I'll be able to share with you, when we do the numbers, our anticipated outcome for the jobs. But I see maybe even upwards in the short term, maybe upwards of even 10,000 jobs, and even more. That is in the very short term. For those that we can actually do, especially in the ICT world. But going into the future, maybe hundreds of thousands of jobs. For AGOA, we are very, very hopeful. The vibes that we received in the US, indications are that, and especially Congress, there's a lot of support in the renewal of AGOA. We are looking at renewal of up to 2041. And this will be significant for Kenya. Currently, we have only utilized a few items and a few lines, especially textiles and apparels, and some macadamia, some nuts. But we have more than 1,600 line items. And we have come up with an AGOA strategy of how we can utilize more of the opportunities that are available. And so we look forward to the decision being reached later in the year, but we are very, very, very optimistic. On the STEEP, we have had 4 successful rounds of negotiations, and next week, the US team will be here in Mombasa to continue with the negotiations. We have safely closed 4 chapters, including MSMEs, anti-corruption, agriculture, tranche 1, and we are continuing with the other chapters like the labor chapter, environment chapter. And you know, STEEP is a partnership that wants to have a high level or high standards of a business environment, just sorting out business environment, so that when we get market access and when we are trading, we have already agreed on the standards and that we need to maintain. And so I want to confirm that we are doing quite well. We have an accelerated timetable that we discussed with the US team and with my counterpart, and we anticipate in the next couple of months, maybe the next 4 months, we'll be able to conclude the STEEP negotiations. It is a great honor for Kenya to be the host. Kenya was a host 30 years ago, and it's been brought back to Kenya. First, it sends a signal that Nairobi is a good destination for such business discussions. I was able to attend the meetings yesterday and the discussions that are ongoing about especially affordability and access of funds for development, for infrastructure, and for other projects that the ADB can fund. We are looking at the transformation of financial architecture. We are looking at the growth and development of Africa, access to electricity, access to education, access to health. So as a ministry, we are taking this as an opportunity to discuss trade issues, how we can plug into the discussions, how we can be at the table to discuss the future of Africa. And we know that trade is an integral part of development. We are looking at increasing intra-Africa trade. We know that intra-Africa trade is at very low levels of about 14%. The Asia intra-trade is upwards of 60%. We see the European intra-trade is over 72%. And in these discussions, I was glad to hear there are discussions to increase trade among African countries with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Because Africa is doing a lot of business except with itself. And that will really spur business and development and even investment in Africa. So we are following keenly, and I'll be looking out for the resolutions that will come out of this by the end of the meetings tomorrow.